Namaskar. A warm welcome to the World News and Indian Perspective on Akashvani. This is Aditi Lumba bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India approves production-linked incentive scheme for IT hardware with a budget of 17,000 crore rupees. India Pavilion showcasing country's rich culture and heritage opens at Cannes International Film Festival in France. Hinduja Group Chairman Sri Chand Permanent Hinduja passes away at age of 87 in London. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan gets relief from arrest till May 31st from Islamabad High Court. Taliban appoints Maulvi Abdul Kabir as caretaker Prime Minister of Afghanistan. Floods triggered by torrential rain forced thousands to evacuate homes in Italy. 8 dead so far. World likely to breach 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit by 2027, warm scientists. Ecuador President dissolves National Assembly proponing legislative and presidential elections. And India remains a bright spot, fastest growing major economy, says United Nations report. The Government of India has approved Production-Linked Incentive Scheme 2.0 for information and technology-related hardware with a budgetary outlay of 17,000 crore rupees. The decision was taken at the Union Cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday. Addressing media after the meeting, Electronics and Information Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw said the tenure of the scheme is 6 years and the expected investment will be over 2,400 crore rupees. The minister expressed confidence that this decision will create more than 2 lakh employment opportunities, including 75,000 direct employments. He said electronics manufacturing has witnessed consistent growth with 17% compound annual growth rate in last 8 years, and this year it has crossed a major landmark of $105 billion. Mr. Vaishnaw said India has become the world's second largest manufacturer of mobile phones and exports of mobile phones crossed a major milestone of $11 billion this year. The minister said India is emerging as a major electronics manufacturing country and IT hardware companies have shown interest in establishing manufacturing facilities in the country. The Indian government also decided to spend 1,08,000 crore rupees towards fertilizer subsidy this year. Addressing media after the Union Cabinet meeting, Chemicals and Fertilizers Minister Dr Murugan said the prices of fertilizers will not be hiked and the farmers will continue to get the nutrient-based fertilizers at the same cost they are getting as of now. The minister said 70,000 crore rupees is earmarked for urea and 38,000 crore rupees for DAP to provide fertilizer subsidy. He said Indian farmers are getting fertilizer in less prices compared to other countries. He said despite the hike in fertilizer prices at the global level last year, the government had provided the fertilizers at the affordable prices. India Pavilion and Marshal the film at 76 Cannes International Film Festival in France was thrown open on Wednesday. The pavilion was inaugurated by India's Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Dr Murugan, in presence of the stars of the Indian film industry. The Indian Pavilion at Cannes 2023 showcases country's rich culture and heritage inspired by Saraswati Yantra and national flag's colours and country's creative economy to the world. In his video message on the occasion, Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting Anurag Singh Thakur said that the Festival de Cannes has played an instrumental role in not just promoting our cinematic excellence, but also strengthening the Indo-French relations. He emphasized that for the first time this year, the government has sent an official delegation of talented filmmakers from the northeastern states to the Cannes Film Festival. Mr. Thakur added that with powerful narratives, high-end skill-based content curation, and post-production capabilities and co-production treaties with 16 countries, India has emerged as an attractive destination for filmmakers worldwide. Addressing the gathering after the inauguration of India Pavilion, Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Dr Murugan stated that India is the world's largest producer of films with over 3,000 films in over 50 languages. The minister said these films carry a message of India's strength in storytelling across the world. Citing the example of the now famed Elephant Whisperers of Mudumalai, the minister highlighted that today good content knows no boundaries and we are witnessing an era where Indian content is going local to global. Dr Murugan recalled the recent stellar success of Indian movies and movie makers at world stage and added that today it's difficult to find a movie without an Indian name in its credit for animation. The minister stated that Indian media and entertainment sector is poised to experience an extraordinary growth rate of 11.4% in 2023. He further added that after the COVID pandemic, the gross box office revenues of 2022 in India have increased almost 3 times the revenues of 2021 to $1.3 billion and expected to touch $3 billion by 2025. Dr Murugan pitched India as an attractive movie destination for foreign films and said that the government is committed to develop India as a magnet for international movie industry, including shooting, co-production, animation and low-cost post-production. On the final day of the third Energy Transitions Working Group meeting under India's G20 presidency, over 100 delegates representing G20 member countries, special invitee countries and international organizations held intense deliberations on priority areas. The discussions over draft ministerial communique were also held. Sessions related to green hydrogen, low-cost finance for new and critical technologies for energy transition, critical minerals and biofuels were organized in the morning. A seminar titled Accelerating Energy Efficiency Progress and Promoting Life has been organized on the sidelines of the event. A 35-member team from Brazil and other Latin American countries visited the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure (CDRI) under a G20 Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group initiative, Troika Youth for Disaster Risk Reduction and Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. CDRI shared its youth-centric initiatives, which are playing a pivotal role in promoting disaster-resilient infrastructure. Amit Proti, Director General CDRI, said that the unprecedented challenges posed by climate uncertainties and the increasing frequency and impact of disasters make it imperative for countries to work collaboratively. To showcase sustainable and resilient infrastructure practices in large infrastructure projects, the delegation also visited the flagship regional rapid transit system project connecting Delhi and Meerut on Tuesday, being built by National Capital Region Transport Corporation, a joint venture between the Government of India and the states of the NCR region. Prime Minister Modi has spearheaded the formation of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, which focuses on resilient infrastructure that can withstand and recover from the impacts of natural disasters. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a 3-nation tour of Japan, Papua New Guinea and Australia on Friday. He will be on a visit to Hiroshima in Japan from 19th of May to 21st May at the invitation Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida for the G7 summit. A report.
During the summit, Prime Minister will speak at G7 sessions with partner countries on subjects such as peace, stability and prosperity of a sustainable planet, food, fertilizer and energy security. He will also hold bilateral meetings with some of the participating leaders on the sidelines of the summit. The External Affairs Ministry said the Prime Minister will then travel to Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea to host the first summit of the Forum for Indo-Pacific Islands Cooperation jointly with his Papua New Guinea counterpart James Marape on the 22nd of May. The FIPIC involves India and 14 Pacific Island countries. These are Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Samoa, Vanuatu, Niue, Federated States of Micronesia, Republic of Marshall Islands, Cook Islands, Palau, Nauru and Solomon Islands. Prime Minister Modi will have bilateral engagements in Papua New Guinea, including meetings with Governor-General Bob Dade and Prime Minister James Marape. This will be the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Papua New Guinea. On the same day, the Prime Minister will visit Sydney in Australia. He will have a bilateral meeting with his Australian counterpart, Anthony Albanese, on 24th of May. The Prime Minister will also interact with Australian CEOs and business leaders and address the Indian diaspora at a community event in Sydney on the 23rd of May. This is Saira Mujtaba for World News.
chairman of Hinduja Group, Sri Chand Parmanand Hinduja, died in London today following an illness. He was a British passport holder. The 87-year-old business tycoon was eldest of the four brothers. SP Hinduja and his brothers Gopichand and Prakash were accused of receiving around 81 million Swedish krona in illegal commissions to help gunmaker AB Bofors secure an Indian contract. They were, however, absolved of the charges by a court. A Chinese fishing vessel has capsized in the central Indian Ocean with its 39 crew members reportedly missing. The crew included 17 Chinese, 17 Indonesian and 5 Filipino sailors. Chinese President Xi Jinping has demanded all our efforts in the rescue of the missing people after a Chinese deep-sea fishing vessel capsized on Tuesday. He instructed relevant departments to activate the emergency response mechanism immediately. On-site search operation is underway. In Pakistan, former Prime Minister and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf PTI chief Imran Khan has got relief from arrest till May 31st in the cases filed against him after May 9th. Khan was arrested from the Islamabad High Court premises on 9th of May, following which his supporters carried out riots and arsons across Pakistan. Later, Pakistan Supreme Court had ordered his immediate release. On Wednesday, the Islamabad High Court has extended its order, giving Khan immunity from arrest till May 31st. Last week, the High Court accepted Imran Khan's bail petition in the Al-Qadir Trust case for 2 weeks. On the other hand, Punjab Caretaker Information Minister Amir Mir on Wednesday gave the PTI a 24-hour ultimatum asking the party to hand over 30 to 40 protesters who attacked army installations on 9th of May to the police. The minister said that the protesters are present inside Imran Khan's residence in Zaman Park. Calling the protesters as terrorists, Amir Mir said that they will be tried in a military court. Sri Lanka's Cabinet of Ministers has given approval to the state-owned enterprise reform policy. Cabinet spokesman and Minister for Mass Media, Dr Bandula Gunawardena, said that the reforms are aimed at strengthening government finances and facilitating economic recovery. He said the policy would transform the state enterprises into market-oriented entities that no longer burden the country's budget. Dr Gunawardena emphasized the need for a cost-reflective pricing policy to prevent bankruptcy caused by selling goods below cost. The optimization of employment is also a priority, as excessive workers could result in decreased productivity. Furthermore, the minister said that the policy would help attract both domestic and foreign investments by creating a competitive and market-based environment. Dr Gunawardena stated that the reform of the state-owned enterprises is crucial for improving financial conditions, economic variables, and the balance of payments. Sri Lanka President Ranil Wickremesinghe has appointed 3 new provincial governors. The swearing-in ceremony took place at the Presidential Secretariat on Wednesday. PSM Charles, who previously served as the Northern Province Governor in 2019, has been reinstated as the Governor of the Northern Province. Ceylon Workers Congress leader Senthil Thondaman has been sworn in as the Governor of the Eastern Province. Sri Lankan Freedom Party member Lakshman Yapa Abhivardhana has been appointed as the Governor for the Northwestern Province. These appointments came after the post fell vacant after the removal of Jeevan Tyagaraja, Anuradha Yahampat and the Admiral of the Fleet Vasanta Karangoda on Monday. In Afghanistan, the Taliban regime has appointed Maulvi Abdur Kabir as the caretaker Prime Minister and interim head of the cabinet. The decision was taken by the supreme leader of the Afghan Taliban, Mullah Haibatullah Akhund, owing to the ill health of the Mullah Muhammad Hassan Akhund, the acting head of the Taliban regime. Muhammad Hassan had reportedly suffered a heart attack in early April and is unable to recover and resume his responsibilities since then. The 43rd homecoming day of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was celebrated by the ruling Awami League in Bangladesh on Wednesday. A delegation of senior Awami League leaders offered greetings to Prime Minister Hasina at her official residence, Gano Bhavan, in the morning. The ruling party has organized programs across the country to mark the occasion. Sheikh Hasina returned to Bangladesh on 17th of May 1981 after a long exile in India following the brutal killing of her father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, along with most of his family members on the 15th August 1975. This is Akashvani giving you the world news. In Italy, at least 8 people died while thousands were forced to evacuate their homes due to floods triggered by the torrential rain. The floods battered Italy's northern Emilia-Romagna region. According to officials, 8 bodies had been retrieved from various locations. While the rains were easing, the river levels are still rising. According to the government, some regions received half their average annual rainfall in just 36 hours, causing rivers to burst their banks and sending water cascading through towns. Thousands of acres of farmland are reported to be submerged in flood water. Meanwhile, the Formula One race in Imola, scheduled for this weekend, has been called off after the government said that the emergency services had to concentrate on the rescue operation. According to the reports, muddy waters flowed through the streets of Faenza, Cassina and Forlì, washing over the roofs of the parked cars, submerging some stores and forcing locals to flee to the top stories of their homes. Scientists have warned that overheating world may break the key temperature limit of 1.5 degrees Celsius for the first time over the next few years. Scientists said that there's now a 66% chance of the world breaching the 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming threshold by 2027. The researchers said that the chances are rising due to emissions from human activities and a change in weather patterns. According to a new report by the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, if the world hits the threshold, this would simply mean that the Earth will be 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer compared to pre-industrial levels of the 19th century. The Global Annual Decadal Climate Update also reveals a 93% likelihood of at least 1 year between 2022 to 2026 becoming the warmest on record, thus knocking 2016 from the top spot. The 1.5 degrees Celsius target is the goal of the Paris Agreement, which calls for countries to take concerted climate action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to limit global warming. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on India's Europe outreach gathers traction.
India's External Affairs Minister, Dr S. Jaishankar, embarked on a significant visit to Sweden and Belgium. This marked his first official visit since assuming office. Dr. Jaishankar's visit to Sweden coincided with the celebrations of 75 years of diplomatic relations between India and Sweden. The visit held particular importance as Sweden currently holds the presidency of the Council of the European Union. During his time in Sweden, Dr. Jaishankar held meetings with key officials, including Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson and Foreign Minister Tobias Billström. Discussions centered around strengthening bilateral cooperation and exchanging strategic assessments of Europe and the Indo-Pacific. Dr. Jaishankar also met with Sweden's Defence Minister Pal Johnson and Andreas Norlén, the Speaker of the Swedish Parliament, the Riksdag, to foster contacts between the two parliamentary democracies and exchange perspectives on their respective regions. Furthermore, Dr. Jaishankar attended the second EU Indo-Pacific Ministerial Forum in Stockholm. On the sidelines of the forum, he engaged in bilateral meetings with foreign ministers from several countries. Additionally, he participated in the inaugural session of the India Trilateral Forum, which included representatives from India, Europe, and the United States. India and Sweden have had long-standing close relations based on common values, strong business, investment and R&D linkages, and similar approaches to meet global challenges of peace and security and development. The relationship between India and Sweden has deep historical roots, established in 1949, based on shared democratic values. Recent high-level visits have further strengthened these ties, with India welcoming the first-ever state visit by the President of India. Economic interests have emerged as a key driver of the relationship, with bilateral trade at nearly $5 billion. Opportunities for collaboration in areas such as green technologies, renewable energy, smart infrastructure, healthcare, and defense are significant. Innovation, technology, investment and R&D collaborations provide the bedrock of this modern relationship. Sweden is an externally oriented economy with a focus on services and industry sectors, especially on manufacturing, IT, life sciences, circular economy and clean technologies. Sweden consistently ranks among the top economies in the world in terms of innovation. India's ranking in innovation is also climbing rapidly. From Sweden, the External Affairs Minister travelled to Brussels for bilateral engagements with Belgian and EU officials. In Brussels, he attended the first ministerial meeting of the India-EU Trade and Technology Council (TTC), accompanied by other Indian ministers. The TTC was launched during the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen in April 2022. It aims to enhance cooperation in strategic technologies, digital governance, digital connectivity, green and clean energy technologies, trade, investment, and resilient value chains. During his time in Brussels, Dr. Jaishankar also met with Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo to discuss bilateral cooperation in trade and technology, as well as contemporary strategic concerns. The discussions were productive, emphasizing the growing ties between the two nations. India has maintained diplomatic relations with the precursor of the European Union, the European Economic Community, since its establishment. The 1994 EU-India Cooperation Agreement provides the legal framework for EU-India relations and boosted political, economic and sectoral cooperation. EU-India relations have evolved significantly since the commencement of annual summits in the year 2000. There have also been regular dialogues on regional and global issues of shared interest. The EU and India have regular foreign policy and security consultations and pursue cooperation on security issues such as counter-terrorism, cyber-security, counter-piracy, maritime security, non-proliferation and disarmament. There are close contacts in multilateral forums and interactions during regional or international events and a shared commitment to further enhance cooperation on common priorities, including on human rights issues.
Ecuador's President Guillermo Lasso on Wednesday dissolved the National Assembly in a decree, thus preponing the legislative and presidential polls. Those voted into power in the early elections would only serve until the regularly scheduled 2025 elections take place. Lasso dissolved the Assembly a day after he presented his defense against an impeachment process over a corrupt contract. Guillermo Lasso has denied the allegations, saying his administration made changes to the contract on advice from Ecuador's comptroller to benefit the state. He said the contracts were originally signed years before he took office. Lasso also decreed a tax reform, saying that it would lower taxes for Ecuadorians. While 92 votes from 137-member legislature were needed to remove Lasso from office, the motion received support from 88 members. Lasso will now remain in office and rule by decree. Ecuador's electoral court must decide on a date for new elections within 7 days of the Assembly's dissolution. The Ukraine Black Sea grain deal has been extended for 2 more months. This was confirmed by Russia and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Russia confirmed that the deal allowing Ukraine to export its grain safely across the Black Sea has been extended. Russian Foreign Minister spokesman Maria Zakharova said that the deal had been extended to help countries in need. Russia maintained that its overall assessment of the situation regarding the deal had not changed. It may be recalled that Russia had threatened to quit the grain deal agreement unless a list of conditions set by the Moscow. The conditions were designed to counter the effect of some of the economic sanctions imposed by the West. The World Economic Situation and Prospects report released by the United Nations has reposed its faith in the Indian economy. The report said that India is expected to grow by 5.8% in 2023 and 6.7% in 2024. With this, India is expected to remain the fastest growing major economy in the world. The growth will be supported by resilient domestic demand. The UN report said that India remains a bright spot amid global economy uncertainty. It said that inflation in India is expected to decelerate to 5.5% in 2023 with the moderation of global commodity prices and slower currency depreciation. The report said that economic growth in India is expected to remain strong while the prospects for other South Asian nations are more challenging. Key domestic indices today declined more than 0.5%. The BSE Sensex closed below 61,600 points, while the NSE Nifty settled below 18,200 level. Both indices declined amid negative cues from global share markets. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex fell 372 points to finish at 61,561. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange slipped 105 points to end at 18,182. Asian stocks ended mixed. Japan's Nikkei 225 climbed 0.8% and South Korea's Kospi rose 0.6%. On the other hand, Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined 2.1%. Singapore's Straits Times Index fell 1.3% and China's Shanghai Composite Index slipped 0.2%. European markets were also trading mixed and in a narrow range. Oil prices were steady after a surprise rise in U.S. crude inventories. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $75.05 a barrel. Back home, gold prices at the multi-commodity exchange for June contracts were trading at around 60,165 rupees per 10 grams. On the other hand, silver was trading at 72,445 rupees per kilogram for July contracts when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee closed at 82 rupees and 39 paise against the US dollar. Gaurang Dhawanlal for World News, Akashvani.
In the Italian Open tennis, Holger Rune on Wednesday produced a masterclass to knock Novak Djokovic out of the tournament. The thrilling quarter-final match saw 20-year-old Danish tennis player prevailing 6-2, 4-6, 6-2 to seal a win against the world number one Djokovic. The match lasted for 2 hours and 19 minutes. The 20-year-old will face Casper Ruud or Francisco Cerundolo in his third ATP Masters 1000 semi-final. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Wall Street Journal reports Taiwan opposition taps popular former cop in election that is pivotal for US. China also, Biden seeks to rally G7 allies against Russia and China. The Guardian writes, baby dead and 23 people missing after hippo collides with boat in Malawi. Washington Post reports, in cancelling Pacific trip, Biden shows the U.S. has higher priorities. The Japan Times reports, Japan visitors surged to nearly 2 million in April after China eases travel curbs. With China in mind, economic security, a G7 priority amid coercion worries. South China Morning Post writes, Chinese comedy troupe hit with $2 million penalty for making jokes about People's Liberation's Army. Khabar Hub writes, Nepali mountaineer Kami Rita breaks his own record with 26 climb to Mount Everest. The Globe and the Mail writes, George Santos' expulsion coming before House as Democrats force vote. The Straits Times reports, United Kingdom accelerates London flood defence plan to counter rising climate risk. The Financial Times, Indonesia's sovereign wealth fund set to boost spending in a year ahead. A quick look at the headlines once again. India approves production-linked incentive scheme for IT hardware with a budget of 17,000 crore rupees. India Pavilion showcasing country's rich culture and heritage opens at Cannes International Film Festival in France. Hinduja Group Chairman Sri Chand Parmanand Hinduja passes away at the age of 87 in London. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan gets relief from arrest till 31st of May from Islamabad High Court. Taliban appoints Maulvi Abdul Kabir as caretaker Prime Minister of Afghanistan. Floods triggered by torrential rain force thousands to evacuate homes in Italy. 8 dead so far. World likely to breach 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit by 2027, warn scientists. Ecuador President dissolves National Assembly, preponing legislative and presidential elections. And India remains a bright spot, fastest growing major economy, says United Nations report. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Russia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of the World News.